Thursday, March the 22nd, 2018, to you. International trade is more than a mere economic data. It is also a cultural, political phenomenon. Through exchanging goods and services, economic agents shape their tastes and even their needs. Economists too often forget the cultural, political sides of trade. Unfortunately, world leaders forget that too, and once again US President Mr. Donald J. Trump exemplified that phenomenon. Earlier today, Mr. Trump signed a presidential order to impose new tariffs on imported Chinese products as a means to stem economic aggression by Beijing. The tariffs, which could be worth about $60 billion, are the result of a Section 301 trade investigation launched last summer. The inquiry found that Chinese theft of US intellectual property is costing the American economy billions of dollars. Mr. Trump has directed the US Trade Representative, Mr. Robert Lighthizer, to publish a list of 1,300 proposed Chinese goods that could be subject to tariffs in 15 days. For a start, I'm assuming that Mr. Trump is being serious. In other words, he's not simply pretending in order to negotiate with China in better terms. Well, today, the Dow Jones fell 2.39%, while the S&P 500 lost 2.52%. That said, I would like to remark three issues concerning the new tariffs. First, imposing tariffs is too dated as a trade policy. It assumes that Chinese goods will become less competitive in American markets. I would like to emphasize the word competitive. That mindset was correct 50 years ago, but in today's world economy, trade restrictions affect supply chains. On the other hand, it is not net exports what matters, but capital account. The US-China trade deficit is $375 billion. Mr. Trump has declared a goal of cutting America's trade deficit with China by $100 billion annually. The best tactic would be to saving more or consuming less. Secondly, China has warned that it would not sit back watching its rights and interests be damaged. Many fear that China would retaliate against the soybean industry. US soybean producers export $14 billion annually, and Boeing aircraft, the US biggest exports to China. Reiterative retaliation enforced by both countries would lead to a bitter trade war of attrition. In such conflicts, it is the most patient player, the one who has the upper hand. Unlike Mr. Trump, Mr. Xi Jinping does not have to face a midterm election every 2 years. Finally, I believe that China has some issues with intellectual property. As I wrote in January last year, Chinese culture does not sanction copying, so it is too common that Chinese firms infringe intellectual copyright norms. However, imposing tariffs is not a solution to that problem. By the way, Beijing is subsidizing a plan called Made in China 2025, whereby China's domestic industry would domestically dominate fields like robotics, 5G, biopharmaceuticals, and so on. In my humble opinion, by 2025 it will be less important where goods come from. Furthermore, goods will come from everywhere, considering how connected supply chains will be. Of course, I'm believing Mr. Trump's words are for real. If I may talk as a Chinese, my friend, it is too soon to have an opinion. Is it a tariff or a tariff? The world is still on.